John Reyes had changed. He was taller, his once boyish grin now shadowed with maturity, but those familiar hazel eyes still held the same spark that had made her heart race all those years ago. He walked into her store one quiet afternoon, a travel-worn journal in hand, and froze the moment he saw her. "Ivy," he said, disbelief and emotion threading through his voice. She turned slowly, her heart stuttering. "John." The years melted away in that one word. They talked until the sun dipped below the horizon, about their lives, careers, mistakes. John had become a landscape photographer, traveling the world but never quite finding a place that felt like home. Ivy had chased dreams in publishing before realizing her heart was always anchored to Cedarbrook. "I thought you moved on," Ivy whispered once, fingers curled around her mug. "I tried," John admitted, voice low. "But no one else ever felt like us." In the weeks that followed, they gravitated toward each other. Coffee dates turned into evening walks, laughter turned into shared silences, and memories turned into dreams of a future. One evening, beneath the same oak tree where they'd carved their initials as teens, John reached into his coat and pulled out the journal he'd carried that day they met again. "I've written about you in here for years," he said, flipping through pages filled with sketches, letters never sent, and photographs. "I never stopped loving you." Tears welled in Ivy's eyes as she reached for his hand. "Then let's not waste another minute." "Absolutely." Here's the continuation of love that stood the test of time, diving deeper into their emotional journey, with a touch of drama and a heartwarming arc. As fall faded into winter, Ivy and John's love blossomed anew, mature, grounded, but still laced with the magic of youth. They rebuilt trust slowly, learning each other's rhythms again, what had changed, and what had remained beautifully familiar. But love stories are never without trials. One crisp December morning, Ivy received a letter, an offer from a prestigious publishing house in New York. A dream she'd once let go of now dangled before her again. And with it came a difficult question. Could love survive another distance? John noticed the shift in her, the hesitation in her smiles, the weight behind her silences. "Talk to me," he said one night, snow softly falling outside the bookstore. She held the letter out to him. "It's everything I ever wanted. But I just got you back. I don't want to lose this." He looked down at the letter, then into her eyes. "Ivy, I didn't come back into your life to hold you back. If this is your dream, chase it. I'll support you every step of the way." "But what about us?" John smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We've waited 10 years. A few more months won't break us. This time we're stronger." So she went tearfully, hopefully, and for a while, love lived through phone calls, letters, and surprise visits. It wasn't easy, but it was real. One snowy Valentine's Day, Ivy returned to Cedarbrook for a short visit, expecting just a quiet evening by the fire. Instead, she found the bookstore transformed. Candles lined the shelves. A trail of old letters and photos led to the back room where John waited, holding the very same journal he'd once shown her, now with one last page written. She picked it up and read aloud. "Ivy, we lost time once, but now we get to choose. So I choose you. I choose every day forward with you." He got down on one knee, pulling out a simple, elegant ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears streaming down her face, she laughed through a choked yes, falling into his arms as snowflakes danced outside. The air was thick with spring's perfume, lavender, wild roses, and the sweet promise of forever. Under the ancient oak tree, draped in fairy lights and soft white fabric, Ivy stood in a lace gown that whispered of timeless grace. Her bouquet was simple, lavender and baby's breath, just like the ones she used to pick as a little girl. John stood at the end of the aisle, nerves melting into awe the second he saw her. Their friends and family filled the clearing, laughing, crying, some holding hands, all witnesses to a love story they had rooted for since childhood. As Ivy reached him, John gently took her hands. "You're more than my best friend. You're my peace, my home, and the story I'll never stop writing." Ivy smiled through tears. "And you? You're my heart's constant." My once upon a time, my missed chance, and now my always. They exchanged rings carved with a line from John's journal. No matter how far, I found my way back to you. 5 years later. The bookstore was buzzing with laughter and soft jazz. A little girl with dark curls and her father's hazel eyes darted between shelves, clutching a plush bunny in one hand and a crayon in the other. "Mommy, look," she called, tugging on Ivy's dress. "I drew us under the tree." Ivy knelt, taking the paper. It was a stick figure drawing her, John, and their daughter standing beneath the old oak tree with a big sun smiling down. John came over, wrapping his arms around both of them. "She's already a storyteller." Ivy smiled, her heart full. "It runs in the family." 12 years earlier, the summer sun spilled golden light across the fields of Cedarbrook. Kids rode their bikes through dusty trails, laughter echoing into the open sky. Beneath the old oak tree at the edge of Miller's farm, 2 10-year-olds sat with scraped knees and wide dreams. Ivy Carter, with a notebook in her lap, scribbled furiously while humming a tune only she seemed to know. Next to her, John Reyes lay in the grass, hands behind his head, watching clouds drift by. "Do you think clouds ever get lonely?" Ivy paused, looked up at him and smiled. "Only when they forget where they belong." He turned his head toward her, squinting in the sun. "Where do I belong, Em?" She looked at him for a long moment. "Here. With me." He didn't answer with words, just reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, smooth stone. "Found this near the creek. Looks like a heart." He handed it to her shyly. "It's yours." Ivy took it like it was made of gold, her cheeks glowing pink. She pressed it between the pages of her notebook. That afternoon, they carved their initials into the bark of the oak tree, giggling and pretending it was a secret only the wind would know. Forever friends. But life had other plans. A month later, Ivy's family had to move across the country. Her mom cried. Her dad promised it was temporary. John, he just stood by the tree, gripping the heart-shaped stone she'd returned to him on moving day. "Don't forget me," he whispered. Ivy, tears streaming down her cheeks, leaned in and pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. "I couldn't if I tried." As the moving van drove away, John ran to the tree and placed the stone beneath it, like a buried promise. One rainy afternoon, their daughter, now 6, dug near the roots of the old oak tree during a family picnic. "Look, Mommy." "Daddy." "A heart rock." John froze, his breath catching. Ivy took the stone, still smooth, still warm from the earth. They looked at each other, tears in their eyes. Some love stories don't start with fireworks. Some start with a notebook, a stone, and a kiss on a dusty summer day. But the ones that last, they always find their way home. Years passed in Cedarbrook, and life grew richer in ways they never expected. Chapters and coffee flourished as the heartbeat of the town, a gathering place for the dreamers, artists, and lovers who, like Ivy and John, found themselves forever tethered to their roots. Their daughter, Lily, grew up among the shelves of books, her fingers tracing the pages of old novels and journals, her imagination blooming with every story. But it wasn't just the bookstore that flourished. Ivy and John's love deepened, tested by the ebb and flow of life, the demands of work, the struggle of maintaining balance as parents, the everyday challenges of growing older together. But each trial only made them stronger, each challenge a stepping stone toward the life they always wanted. One afternoon, as they worked side by side behind the counter, Ivy caught John's gaze across the room. A quiet understanding passed between them. She smiled and leaned over to kiss him on the cheek. "Do you remember that summer, Nate? The one where we carved our initials into the tree?" John chuckled, wiping his hands on his apron. "How could I forget? You made me promise I'd never forget you. And I haven't." "I've never forgotten you either," she whispered, heart full. It wasn't just the memories of their past that defined them, it was the way they built a future. They'd come full circle, but it wasn't the past that defined them. It was what they were creating together. A life of love, support, and quiet joy. Lily ran to them, holding up a drawing she had made just like the one from when she was little. "Look, Mommy." "Look, Daddy." It's us under the tree again. The one you carved your names into. Ivy knelt, her heart swelling with emotion. It's perfect, sweetie. You know what? One day we'll take you to that tree, and you can carve your name right beside ours. As the years rolled on, John and Ivy didn't just grow older. They grew deeper. They traveled the world together, capturing moments in photographs and journals. John's photography flourished, while Ivy's writing gained recognition in the literary world. But Cedarbrook was always their home. One evening, as the autumn air once again kissed the streets of Cedarbrook, Ivy and John sat in their favorite corner of chapters and coffee, watching the first snowflakes of the season fall. "Remember the first time we sat here?" John asked, looking around the cozy store, now a second home to them. Ivy nodded, her hand resting on his. "It feels like a lifetime ago. We've built something beautiful here," he said softly, his gaze drifting to the shelves that held their story, the books, the journals, the photos. "And we've got so much more to build." Ivy smiled, gazing at their daughter, now a teenager, flipping through the pages of her own journal by the fireplace. The same fire that had burned all those years ago when she and John had first reconnected. "I think our story isn't just ours anymore," Ivy said, looking at John. "It's hers now too. We've passed the torch." John squeezed her hand. "And she'll carry it with grace. Just like you did, Em." They sat there in silence, the bookstore wrapped in the warmth of love, of memories made, and those still yet to come. Their legacy wasn't just the business they'd built, but the way they had shaped the lives around them with love, with laughter, with patience, and with the certainty that no matter how far life tried to pull them apart, they would always find their way back to each other. And so, beneath the oak tree where it all began, their story would live on, not just in pages or photographs, but in the hearts of those they touched. Because love that stands the test of time doesn't just survive, it thrives, it blossoms, and it leaves behind a legacy that lives on generation after generation.